Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Marvin Powell of the Roundtable. Marvin, it's awesome to have you on the show.
It's wonderful to be here, Gresham. You're one of my favorite people.
Definitely. You're definitely one of my favorite people as well, too, which is why I'm so excited and pumped to have you on the show. And before we jumped in, I wanted to read a little bit more about Marvin so you can hear about all the wonderful things that he's doing as well. And one of the best in the world at delivering on his promise of supercharging the energy, focus, and productivity of small women and minority-owned businesses, Coach Powell creates consistent winners all over the world. As the founder and creator of the world-famous Vision Quest 90 program, Coach Powell has helped thousands of entrepreneurs for more than 30 years to realize and actualize their highest aspirations. As a master networker, Coach Powell is proud to share the best tips and strategies to help anyone create an amazing network of people that stand at the ready to help provide the information and context to ensure your success. So sit back, relax, and get ready for Coach Marvin Powell. Coach, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Oh my God, that was a great introduction. I am so ready.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a mic drop moment, I feel like. But what I wanted to do to kick everything off is hear a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through what I call your CEO story and what led you to all the awesome things you're working on now?
Oh my God. I think I've been preparing to be an entrepreneur my entire life. I started out, my first gig, and I'm going to call it a gig, was when I was hustling newspapers at 10 years old for the Washington Post, or the Washington Star then. And later on, I picked up several routes with the Washington Post. I won several contests and trips, and I just fell in love with sales and services and the delivery of sales and services. And I went on from there to literally became what I call the drive-through king at McDonald's, at the local McDonald's there in Oxon Hill, Maryland. I really loved working there. I would get in there and it would be my delight to upsell every customer that came through that drive-through. I mean, if you came through that drive-through, you didn't buy anything more. It was because I don't know, I couldn't do a good job, but if I did a good job, everybody was going to add a little something extra to that order. And so I got really used to helping people understand and provide benefits and services. And I took that on into college, school, and into my first start of my financial career when I first started at the Prudential Financial Services, probably looking at around 1996 or so. And I was in the financial services industry for 16 years. I literally taught entrepreneurs and business leaders how to use insurance and financial products to make sure that they were optimizing everything they could from a financial point of view for their businesses, whether that's going to be for business succession or moving forward and just growing and accumulating wealth. So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it so much. And I started to, especially in the latter parts of my career as a financial agent and investment advisor, that kind of good stuff. I literally began to understand that my hands were tied as to how much I can actually help entrepreneurs and small business leaders. And they were just my love, my passion. I had gone to school to prepare to work with them. I'd understood everything. I got 3 degrees in economics, sociology, and African studies. And so I just love being able to share what I know and my wisdom about certain things. And I've learned so much more. You graduate from college, you think you know everything, but then, you actually, sit down and start working in a career and you learn so much more. I was blessed to be offered the opportunity to work under Dr. Stephen Covey and learn the 7 habits of highly effective people and be one of the people who were certified to use that information to train and develop others in the company. And I just fell in love with personal development and helping people understand what they need to do to maximize the value of their gifts, whatever they bring to the table, whatever they've learned and created. It really can be turned up and dialed up if you know how to. And so I created processes and programs, and today that's what I do. I create programs and processes to help people really dial up that effort, really dial up that energy and focus, and create maximum kinds of productivity that can lead them into that next trajectory in their lives, their business, their careers. And that's really what's necessary, is to tap in to their God-given talents and abilities and be ready to ride that all the way to the future. And that's what I love doing. I love working with people about that right now. And that's what I do in my company. So today, I've got several programs, products, and services that I participate in. My love and my passion is the roundtable, as you mentioned earlier. That's a co-partnership between myself and my good friend Darren Marcourt, and we get together on a regular, consistent basis and really figure out ways to help business leaders strategize to learn what we call the art and science of networking. Because most entrepreneurial ventures or most networking organizations sort of get together and they just slam people in the room and they say, okay, now introduce yourself and see what you come back with. And that's a horrible way to network, because one, if you haven't learned really the techniques and the strategies you need to use to network effectively, you're going to waste your time, because no one's going to listen to you, no one's going to pay attention to you, no one's going to follow up with you, and you're just not going to have a good strategy in place that can help you win. And this is so important, because 5 times success is really at the root of this strategy, the program. You know, we've already done the studies with neuroscientists and sociologists and, you know, economists have done this research over the years and determined that most people who are successful not because of their knowledge, skills, and abilities. I mean, your KSAs are important, right? Don't get me wrong. But you're not successful because of those things. You're successful because of the people that know you, like you, and trust you. And even more so, you can multiply that number from 5 to 7 if you add accountability into the mix. So there's 2 things that we have to learn that nobody teaches us growing up. There's no courses in accountability and relationship building, professional relationship building, that you can learn and go to and really come out with a strategy that's going to help you win from the time you're in elementary school all the way up through your professional career. This is a skill, this is an essential skill to professional and human development that if we don't get at any time in our lives, then we just lose out on any opportunities. And if you understand compounded interest as a former financial advisor, I focus on that, right? If you don't learn to network, and you start your career, and you go through your career 20, 30 years, and you still don't know how to network, you have missed out on tremendous opportunities that people have locked up in them. Everybody that you meet has information and gifts that can be used at your disposal. You just have to learn how to unlock those secrets and unlock those opportunities. And that's what we teach at the roundtable. So I love doing that. I'm also a small business commissioner in the county of Fairfax, and I help in that regard. I help small business owners really just figure out how to do better business within federal government and to the municipal spaces, and try to figure out how they can get a leg up and end sort of what we call the disparity. The economic disparity in Fairfax County alone, just so that you know, is about $26 billion. And so the difference between the minority communities in Fairfax County and the majority communities in 26, they've calculated already through a study called Fairfax One that the variable is about $26 billion in lost GDP. So that means lost gross domestic product that we are not being able to have in Northern Virginia alone, just because of the disparities between minority, women-owned, disabled veterans, all the businesses that are out there that don't necessarily get to participate in the larger or broader sense, in all the individuals that don't get to participate in the larger, broader sense because of some type of phobia, fear, racism, whatever happens, they just don't engage well. And because they don't engage well, that's the lost revenue to the county. And we got to stop that. You know, we got to put it. So that's what we do at the Small Business Commission, is figure out ways to balance that scale out to make sure that, you know, we're rising up, you know, those individuals who need help. And then I've had this genius idea that I've been incubating for the last few years, because there's so many people in the government space and so many people in the private sector space that care about and want to elevate small businesses. And so I decided, you know, what would happen if we would get all the local purveyors that have talent and gifts and wisdom to share with small business together on one day, and just give them an opportunity to shine with as many small businesses as we could gather, right? And then then COVID-19 hit, and that everything went out the window. Like, I have to retool, have to rethink, have to reset and rebrand everything, right? So I came up with this virtual conference we're going to be doing on the 31st of October after this program airs, but we're probably going to be doing another one every quarter. And the reason why I mention this is this program is really set for, you know how you spend money to go to conferences and you spend money to go places, and you know, you hear these wonderful speakers, talented people, but they're not really from here. They're not really local. They're not really accessible to you. In fact, in order for you to have access to them, you got to spend even more money, go somewhere else, and then maybe you get to participate in their whiz bang program or whatever that does, and it helps you out in your business a little bit. And but you got to go back every year and re-up, and learn some more stuff or find some more people or whatever it is that you're doing. And I thought, a small business really doesn't have the availability to take 7 to 10 days to go off to some different place and just spend thinking about their business and what they're going to do and da 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 da. And I know there's executive MBAs and all kinds of programs out there, but what if we could do something local that was easily accessible for them, that they didn't have to really work too hard to get to the information they need or the people that they need, which is most important. And so we put together the Level Up Business Conference, and actually it's the Leverage Up Business Conference, because it's all about learning to create the leverage that you need to grow your business locally, finding the right people, the right information, the right opportunities so that you can leverage and create new possibilities for your business. I love that. I love this conference. It's going to be so wonderful. And your listening audience is probably going to be hearing about it and then having to be able to Google and look back on it. But that's going to be available. So there'll be lots of information available. A lot of videos are going to come out of that. A lot of opportunities are going to come out of that for people who are excited. And we're going to be doing it again. So we'll probably do it again in the latter part of the first quarter of next year. So it's just going to be a great opportunity. So that's what I'm up to now. I'm knee deep in the Leverage Up conference right now. I'm doing the Small Business Commission, and I'm focusing on the Coach Powell brand, which is all about helping entrepreneurs all over the world, specifically small businesses, get their act together. I mean, businesses that are licensed professionals are like think about your dentists, your lawyers, your doctors, your engineers, your scientists, anywhere that you require to have a certification or some type of licensure to work on. Those are the people I like to play with. And I like to be with people who have been in their industry and their business for at least 5 years or more, because at that point, the solutions I put together can be streamlined and I can bring the price down so that it's accessible and easily for them to get to, versus, somebody has to pay $300-400 an hour to sit down and just hear a coach who wants to be a therapist, basically. I don't want to be a therapist. I want to be a solutions provider. So we want to get together really quickly. Within all of my clients are turned around. Whatever's bothering them, whatever's creating a barrier for their success, we get it done in 120 days or less. And we have a 100% money back guarantee and over thousands of clients. We never had to give that money back. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm 100% successful, and I love that. I like that track record. But that means I'm very choosy about who I bring on. So I had to have I got a great discernment palette that I kind of look at like, just because you want me doesn't mean you can get me. Because I got to make sure I get the right people on the team, because I don't lose. I just don't like it. It's a part of my I guess my arrogance and so on and so forth. But I like winning. Winning is good. It just feels great.
Yeah, winning is definitely fun, and having that drive to be able to do that is so important. So I love, all the things you're doing, from, creating. It sounds like you were the executor of the Super Size Me from McDonald's on up to what you're doing now in terms of helping out so many business owners and organizations. Yeah, be successful. So would you consider your ability to be able to see that, what I call your secret sauce, which is something you feel kind of sets you or your organization apart and makes you unique?
It's really, it really boils down to my passion. And my passion and my gifting is to really help others find their passion and find their golden nugget. What is it that they can ride off into the sunset and create? And I think that many of us, we get caught in this thought process that, if we don't have a job, or if we don't have, whatever we need to have, then we're not relevant, we're not meaningful in our world, in our society. And that simply ain't true. Also, I love this. I learned this in economics when I was a young student at Kent State University. This whole thought process about what freedom means from an economic point of view in America, right? And when you look at the original founding ideas and ideas, it becomes clear that, these are entrepreneurs. These are all business people. These were all farmers and merchants who were trying to figure out, how can they get away from the tyranny and the oppressive nature of the king, and how can they do it in a way and lead the whole entire country forward in a way that was going to be what now is America, right? So, and I think that it's interesting that, entrepreneurship has always been the opportunity in America. And so for those people who aren't thinking like an entrepreneur, even if you work for somebody else, you should be thinking like an entrepreneur. You should be thinking, what is the service that I am providing? What is the value of that service? And how do I get to the top of the maximizing that value no matter what I do? And when you can do that, then you can participate at the highest levels of economic possibility in America. And the only things that keep you from doing that, I mean, there are quite a few things that keep you from doing that, but you have to know how to negotiate those obstacles. And when you learn how to negotiate those obstacles, then, and those obstacles, by the way, are always people standing there, going, no, you can't come in, or no, you can't do this. Or all you have to do is find some other people, and learn how to find the right people who are going to say, you know what, the door is open. Come on in. I would more than happy to welcome you. And that requires, your ability to hone in on how to trust, who to trust, where to trust, when to trust. And I've just kind of come up with some ideas and concepts that tend to work everywhere about how do you maximize that and how do you do that. So that's, I think, if you have to ask, and that's my particular gift and style, it's really all about helping people find out where they're the most authentic, where they have the most integrity, and then looking at the trajectory of that possibility and starting to aim in that direction so that they are walking and talking exactly like they need to be walking and talking to move them right into the future that they were born to be in, not the future that other people determine for them.
Yeah, that's so powerful and so huge. And I think so many times, we're not in alignment with our gifts, as you said, too, why we were born here and put here on this earth in order to execute. And so many times we get lost in the sauce, so to speak, and we start doing other things outside of what is in our zone of genius, the gift that we have. So I love that you're able to do that, but also able to see that in so many other people and help them to execute on that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
For me, it's really about what you said earlier. It's that focus and that staying in alignment, right? So I practice what I preach. When I built the Vision Quest 90 process, I built it literally to help me stay focused and productive. And so every day I get up and I run through, sort of, I do that spiritual moment where I'm in devotion, but I'm also thinking about, what is my vision for myself in this day? Who do I want to be? Where am I really going to go? What is it going to determine for me to say today was a successful day? And how does that fit in my month? And how does that fit in my year? And how does that fit in my vision for myself in the future? And I'm asking those questions and I'm assessing that every single day. Because when I say yes to something, that means it's fitting in alignment with that. When I say no to something that's going to come in my day, that means I'm saying yes to even more focus and more time to spend in my walk, my journey, and my pace towards my future. And so it's really about accessing everything you have to access to stay on point with your strategy, to stay on point with your vision, to make sure that your mission, your productivity, your habits, and everything are aligned in a way that you're going to have as smooth as possible, because it's not going to be smooth, right? As smooth as possible journey into your future. And know that even when you hit a stumbling block, or even when you fall down or fail, all you got to do is get back up and get back in the game and keep playing. Keep playing. You want to play at a high level of intensity, and you want to make sure that, you are as well balanced as you can be. I don't really believe in balance because I think it's a momentary thing. You might find balance for about 15 seconds and then you're off balance again. Because, as you're moving forward, you're going to find things that trip you up. You're going to find things that people and opportunities and ideas that get in your way. And you have to figure out how to negotiate that. If you're always in balance, I don't think you're going anywhere and not getting anything done.
Yeah, that's definitely powerful, and I love kind of like how it came about too, because I think so many times that we forget that a lot of times when we kind of come up with solutions to the problems that we have, as you said, being able to create the program largely because you wanted to help yourself focus. Not only does it help you out, it helps so many others out as well too. So I love that you were able to kind of create and do that. And so I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. And this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
So I learned this nugget, and this is really the secret sauce to the genius for me. A long time ago, when I was taking a course in Pan-African Studies at Kent State University, a gentleman by the name of Maulana Karenga, who is the founder of Kwanzaa, K-Bio organization, and he hit me in right between my eyes with three questions. And these are the three questions that I still ask myself today, and the three questions that still help me focus and stay energetic and moving forward in every possibility that I can. The questions are: number one, who are you? Number two, are you really who you say you are? And number three, are you all that you ought to be? So Dr. Karenga says that these are the questions that ancient Africans asked and remain and keep asking way before Socrates or any of the great Plato, Aristotle, any of the great Greek philosophers started asking those questions. Ancient Africans were already dealing with those questions and asking those questions. And so I ask myself those questions on a regular, consistent basis. And I review the answers that I give myself and the answers that I share with other people. And those doing that helps me stay focused. It helps me stay energetic, helps me stay on point, helps me stay aligned so I don't get hijacked by other people's thoughts and ideas and all that kind of stuff, because I'm really focused on, why I was here, why I was born, what's my purpose, what's my mission, where am I going? And more importantly, what are the values that I want to carry forward and I want to live my entire life around.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And it's so funny because those three questions, a lot of times you think it's like the square root of pi or E equals MC squared. They're like really complex questions, but a lot of the questions that really help you with alignment are for one, that simple, but it's something we often don't do, or we don't take the time to really make sure we answer those questions and make sure we're asking that on a regular to make sure we don't get hijacked, as you said. And I think that when we understand that, it starts to manifest itself in the decisions that we make, the organizations that we're a part of, and what we try to start and build. So I think that's definitely a powerful nugget. So I appreciate that. And I wanted to ask you now for what I call my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Marvin, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Man, it's about leadership. It is all about leadership. And I will tell you, it is about helping people get the best out of themselves. So when you have a whole team of people that you're leading and they're all working together to be better than they could have ever been by themselves, now you're a real leader. Now you're the kind of leader that people, it's going to be hard when people find things that they really should do outside of you. It's going to be hard for them to separate themselves from your leadership because they're so connected and they feel so valued and they feel such possibilities because you are there as their example. You are there as a guide to guidance and directing. You are there providing them with vision and possibility and hope. This is what leaders do, and this is what great CEOs always have to do. Because you can be a CEO, you can be a great CEO for a quarter. Fudge the numbers around, do some things that are going to make the numbers look good and all that kind of stuff, and then you'll be great. Stock options, everything will be working really well for about a quarter. But then now, when the real game starts, when you have to do it again and again and again and again and again, that's going to require a whole different. You can't do that by accounting only. You have to do that by actually plugging into people and helping them find their mojo. And helping them find their mojo is not your mojo, you're going to suck as a CEO. Ooh, I never said that before. We keep that. That rhyme.
There you go. Put that on a bumper sticker for sure. And no, I think that's a phenomenal kind of definition, because I think, like you said, being able to make the impact that by being around you and being under your leadership, or with your leadership, maybe a better way to say it, the people or the organizations wouldn't get to the level that they could. And I think that, as you kind of talked about wanting to be able to win and wanting to be able to execute in order to win, that's not something you do for just one day. It's not something you do for just a quarter. It's consistency over and over and over and over again. We see it in sports, we see it in business, as those that are consistently able to show up and win on a regular basis are really those phenomenal CEOs, entrepreneurs, business owners, whatever title we might give. But it's the consistency with that leadership that really takes things.
I'll say one more thing about that. Just
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk over you or anything, but I just forgot to mention this, and this is so important. Probably might be more important than anything else in my mind. The CEO who considers himself or herself a servant leader is the best. The people that really think along the lines of collaborative leadership, not the authoritarian type or totalitarian type of leader, but the collaborative leader who considers himself a servant leader is going to be better and longer lasting and more sustainable than any other.
Yeah, and it's so powerful. I'm glad you added that in, because I feel like it ties everything into how you even started, with your CEO story and in the newspaper routes, being of service and at McDonald's, and all of those different aspects. It's all about giving and being able, you're able to be of service and provide value to people. So truly appreciate that definition. I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
So I am not going to send people to, all the technological solutions and the passive, kind of situations that help them in contact with me. I really want to contact the people. And so what I want you to do, if you want to reach out to me, call me. Call me at 703-201-4267 or text me at 703-201-4267, because that's the best way for me to actually engage and interact. You can also join me on LinkedIn. Look at Marvin L. Powell or Marvin Coach Powell on LinkedIn, and you'll find me. I mean, there's a whole bunch of Marvin Powells out there, but there's not a whole bunch that look like me or talk like me. So I should be pretty easy to find on LinkedIn or Facebook or anything like that. If you just want to passively engage with me, use one of those tools, right? But if you really want to talk, if you really want to share, if you really want to figure out how to take that next step in your life or your business, you probably should give me a call, and I'll answer. All right, look forward to talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Coach Powell. What we'll do is we'll have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, to make it even easier for people to get a hold of you passively or unpassively, if that's even the right opposite word. But I truly appreciate you again, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gresham. I really appreciate it. It was great.
All right, and I'll cut it off here. Hello. This is Gresh again from the I Am CEO podcast, and we had a phenomenal interview with Marvin Powell, the roundtable. He provided so much knowledge and information and so many nuggets and so much wisdom, sage wisdom, that we can kind of learn from him. So for Marvin, the people that just might be listening to this bonus section, could you introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
So I am ultimately a coach, a business coach, and my responsibility to my clients, the entrepreneurs that work with me, is to make sure that no matter what we do, they are left with more focus, more energy, and more productivity. And so everything I've created, everything I do, everything I work on is all about helping them win whatever game they're playing. So if they're trying to win any type of new level of success, then my job is to help them, put them on the road to get them there. I don't necessarily go all the way with them, but for 120 days, I make sure that they have everything they need to win that game, everything they need to move themselves forward and create the success they want to create. So that's pretty much what I do. That's who I am. We were talking about something else earlier. What was it again?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to hit the record button, because we were talking a little bit offline, and Marvin was providing so much value. And we talked about how, being a CEO is all about servant leadership. And I was like, if I was being a good servant leader, I would definitely be hitting the record button, because you were providing so much value. So we talked a little bit about kind of networking and building relationships. And you talked about the 9-step process that you had outlined from the experiences that you had in fraternity life, business, and so many different other aspects. But I think, as you said, so many times we don't really know how to go from I don't know somebody to, oh, you're my best friend, or oh, you're my business associate. So could you talk a little bit more about that and how exactly we can execute on that, and so that we can really build truly valuable relationships?
Okay. And so two keys that you really have to realize when it comes to building relationships. One, every person on the planet wants to be meaningful, significant, and relevant. Nobody wants to be insignificant. Nobody wants to have a life that doesn't have any meaning or substance or character or anything. Everybody wants meaning, substance, and relevance, right? That's one. Two, nobody knows how to get there. Because there's no training, there's no schooling, there's no direction on how to get to meaning, significance, and relevance, right? We just kind of bump along and we figure it out as we go. And if we're lucky, before we die, we've figured some things out. And I thought that's a shame. It is a shame that we have these lives where we're trying to do something, but we know there's no manual on how to get there, how to make it happen. And then I figured out that, and not just me, but thousands of practitioners over the years have figured out, and this is another truth, you're only as good as the people that you're around all the time, right? These are not, we used to think of them as, sage wisdom. We now can prove it. Neuroscience has already proven this. You think the things that you're thinking because the people around you are thinking the things that you're thinking, and they're enjoying the same process, and they're enjoying the same ideas and concepts in the moment that they're in. And so how do you engineer that practices so that you're always working with the right people, you're always moving in the right circles, you're always creating the right opportunities for yourself? And that is understanding how to work with people, understanding how to build high quality relationships with people who you can then leverage to create what you want to create. Now, if you're leveraging somebody else, they're also got to be leveraging you. So you got to have a win-win opportunity, because there's nobody who wants to have one-sided relationship. Nobody wants to have relationships where it's just take, me. You want to have relationships where it's win-win, where it's give. Everybody gives and everybody contributes from everybody giving, right? So you have to figure out how to engineer that process. And I've discovered through the 9 steps, that is a perfect way to engineer that process. It's a way to make sure that if you start off with the lowest rung, right? How do I build a personal relationship? And then how do I take that personal relationship to the next level, and then to the next level, and to the next level, to the point where that person might be on my advisory council, that person might be my mentor, that person might be, somebody that I can call to for investment or promotion or anything that I need to have, because they'll understand me, they'll care for me, they'll be with me on my team, already. And you need to build that before you use it. You have to build that relationship before you try to leverage that relationship. And so you have to have in your mind a process that's going to help you do that. Number one, how do you identify the right people you want to be in relationship with? And then what do you do next? Most of us are pretty good at identifying people that we might want to be in relationships with, but we're not good at what to do next. And that's what the 9 steps picks up. The 9 steps is a process that gets you from the point where I just decided this is a person that I need to be in a professional relationship with. I need to be an associate of. I need to be a confidant, of. I need to be somebody. I need to have them in my inner circle. We call it the inner circle. And then we use the 9 steps to get you there. And it starts with, first of all, learning how to listen correctly. And then, once you learn how to really listen correctly, not speak, but listen, right? Then you can be able to find out, where do I have commonality? Where do I have an opportunity to show myself worthy of participation in this relationship? How can I be attractive to this person, interesting to this person, right? So if you can't listen well enough, listening is about asking the right question. If you don't know how to get a good question, then you'll never learn how to listen. Like you're great at asking questions, right? So and you could just see that. You can see you soaking it up, like I can see the wheels turning.
There
Gresham's
you
learning,
go.
right?
Yeah,
It's a
the
great thing,
smoke,
right?
the smoke raising too.
Right? It's a great thing, right? So it's important, right? Because if you can't listen, then and really listen, not just with your ears, but with your mind and your heart and everything that you have to bring to the table. I call it wholehearted listening, right? If you can't get that done, then you can't take the next step, which is then to see where there's promise. Where is there opportunity? Where do you have promise? Where does that other person have promise? And where can you get together and share that promise? What is the trajectory of your life and your business and the trajectory of their life and their business? And how can you come together to share your promise, right? And then that's step number 2. Step number 3 is now how you got to follow up. You got to follow up and you got to follow through. Following through means you're making a promise, you're making a commitment, and you're following through on that commitment. But following up means now that you've made that commitment, you followed through on that commitment, you got to follow up to make sure it was good. You got to follow up to make sure that it was right, that it worked. And you have to keep that process going. So you start with listening, promising, following up, right? And following through. Very, very important process. Those are the first 3 steps. The next step is now that you've done that, you've learned and you've understood how to truly connect to that person. And I don't mean that connection about, we have something in common. No, that's not happening anymore. Right now, your connection is built on a shared history, a shared responsibility, a shared relationship. And now that's what the connection is built on. You might have earlier been built on something superficial, but now it's built on something more meaningful. You've already made promises, kept promises to each other, followed through and followed up on those promises, right? So now you're step number 4, you're gonna get deeper, you're deepening the connection. And step number 5 is really, really figuring out, what cognitively and mentally, what processes are there that you all can literally share, communicate, create, and so that you're building the next step. Now you're building a strategy that says, we're going to commit to each other. We're going to commit to each other beyond the transaction. It's now going to be a long-term commitment. So we're in step number 6, we're building a win-win scenario. We're building something that we're going to do together, right? And that's just that's just interpersonal relationship. I got you to step number 6. You're not ready to get to step number 7 now until you start to really, really start to realize that you got to do this again and again and again with multiple people. Now you're starting to create teams and starting to see, okay, this person can work on this team, and this person can work on that team, and this person can work on this team, and that's step number 7. Step number 8, now that you've picked these teams, all the teams need their own strategy, their own plan, their own trajectory, their own goals, their own vision, their own purpose. And so those teams have to know how to work together and create that strategy that define what they call the Super Bowl for them. And then you need to help them, and because you're the center of all these circles of all this energy, you need to help all of them move in the right direction. And then last but not least, number 9, you have to execute your plan. So a lot of people, when they do this stuff, they want to run right to the 9th step, right? They want to run. I mean, you can get there fast, don't get me wrong, but you cannot miss a step. Right? So it's not about pace or rhythm or anything like that. It's just about it's like staying with the step until you know that you're ready to take the next step, and then take the next step, and then take the next step. And when I built this process, I built little assessments inside each step so that okay, I've done this, it's effective, it's working, I'm ready to take the next step. But if you try to jump into a relationship and you try to run the step number 5 or step number 6, it's like asking somebody to marry you sight unseen, right? You still got to take the steps. You got to go back and figure all the other stuff out anyway. You're just putting the cart before the horse, so you can't really make a commitment to something that, a person hasn't earned that commitment. And you got trust issues you got to work out. And if you do this right, you take the steps correctly, you run right to trust, and you run directly to trust fast, versus you're wandering around trying to figure out, what do we do next? I don't know. You can just literally go back to the steps and go, okay, I'm supposed to be here. We're supposed to be here. We agree with this. And let's take the next step. Here's the next step. And here's why we're taking the next step. And like all of this is, I did this because I realized that I'm an introvert. I need process because I naturally don't want to talk to people. I am naturally inside my own head, loving my own thoughts, and I have to, I have to force myself to talk to people. So I had to create a process that I could use, and then I found out, guess what? This same process works for everybody, even the extroverts who are more likely to jump to, step 6 and 7 and 8, 9, and they want to go the further. They want to do the most and go the furthest with people the fastest. They forget sometimes you got to go back to those basics, because no matter where you start in a relationship, you got to go back to those basics, or the relationship won't have a lot of trust. Even if you have a lot of trust in the person, they won't have a lot of trust in you because you haven't done the right things to earn that trust, to create that trust.
I absolutely love that so much. And, I appreciate you breaking down each of those 9 steps, because one of the things I was going to ask you, and you said so well already before I was asking, anticipating, but I'm sure you get the question a lot, is, does it take time? Because I think so many times we think and associate building relationships with a timeline. It takes 365 days, then you'll be at step 3, or it takes, 400 days and then you'll be at step 4. But I love that you kind of talked about it's kind of like the process of it, not necessarily the timeline, because we get so attached to that. And I think when we understand like the process of it, whether we're introvert or extrovert, as you said so well, we really start to understand a lot more about ourselves, but also the people around us, and how we all kind of coexist in order to reach a certain goal. And then you really start to be able to have more, I don't know if I want to say control, but it sounds like more awareness of what's happening in the world, in business and life, relationships, and so on and so forth. And it really gives you that higher likelihood of being successful at whatever it is that we try to do.
I think it's the only guarantee of success. Because again, we've already studied this enough to know. in terms of numerical numbers, we know that people who build relationships are 5 times more successful than those who don't. We already know this. We've already done the research, the science, all this kind of stuff behind it. We also know that if you add accountability, you get another 2 times. So you're like 7 times more successful than a person who doesn't have a relationship or accountability. And so it is a science, and it is an art. The art part is about how your values are expressed and how your character is expressed. But the science part doesn't change. If people don't feel like, if you don't listen to people, if they don't feel like they're being heard, if they don't feel like they're being understood, you can go no further with them until they feel in any instance that they're understood. They will then take the next step with you. And so it's got to start with listening. It's got to start with active participatory engagement. And when you don't get there, when you don't do that, it's all superficial. Even if it's good stuff, people won't trust it.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And I think even during the podcast, we talked about, a lot of times when the first networking, or networking group you go to, or networking event, I should say, you don't even know how to do some of those things. So I love that you outlined that. And obviously, like we said, during the interview, sometimes the best things are created for ourselves, and then all of a sudden they help out so many other people. So Absolutely. Coach Powell, I truly appreciate that. And for people that might just be listening to this bonus section, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you and find out about, this and all the awesome things that you're working on?
So if you contact me via, say, 703-201-4267, I will freely send you the entire 9-step process, so you will have an opportunity to get the documented evidence of everything I'm talking about and sharing with you guys. It's a 31-page read, but it's no stories or anything. It's just high quality content. So it's not a nice read. It's not, you're not gonna have fun reading it. This is real academic, very, very difficult information. But if you have it, there's lots of illustrations and things like that. And I do take some liberties with some quotes from different authors and different things like that. But other than that, it's all straight, no chaser. So if you want it, you can have it. I'll give it to you. But you got to text me or call me to get it.
Awesome. And we'll definitely have your links and information in the show notes. And the saying goes, no pressure, no diamonds. So a lot of times that hard work and the ability to be able to get through that document is really where a lot of the diamonds come from. So I appreciate you for making that available, of course, for writing and putting in the time to develop that piece as well, too. I appreciate you again, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Awesome. It was wonderful. Thanks for hanging out with me.